Alrighty.
All right, babe.
So I did a quick read over your console earlier.
Okay.
You've done e-collar, you've done clearly some prong work. I think you did agility as well.
We did nose work.
Nose work
Yeah,
separate.
yeah. Although she could do agility too, I think.
Sure, and then you found this because you looked up like pack walks or something?
Yeah,
for
I was
sure.
looking for somebody to do pack walking. So yeah, she's an awesome dog. She's super smart. She's really obedient with us. She's takes to training really well. She's done nose work. Like she was a champ of her class at nose work. She's like very interested in learning and training and picking up things. She's been great at daycare. We send her to daycare once a week just to like socialize her. She's like super excited to meet dogs, like never had a problem. Her with people is really hard. She's super protective of me. When we meet strangers on the street, she gets like, she'll start barking or growling or, whatever. If people don't make eye contact with her or don't, say like, oh, cute dog or whatever, she'll ignore them. She's fine. It's not like a constant problem, but if somebody directly looks at her or starts to talk to me or like approaches me quickly, she'll growl, And she's pretty easy to control. Like I can control, especially with, prong or whatever. Truthfully, we just walk her sometimes with just like a slip leash or with harness, and she's fine. She's easy, like doesn't pull on walks. She's great, but so protective of especially me, sometimes Rick, but especially me. If we go to family functions, I have to have her on a leash because if anyone, my family, like she's getting better with my parents because we've taken her quite a few times, but like some of my relatives we don't see as much. If somebody comes up to me, she'll like growl. She'll like, she has snapped at people. So we just want to try and figure that out because she's a great dog. She's like super smart. I think with the people she's comfortable with, she's comfortable. She's fine. Like I said, we take her to daycare, no problems. She doesn't bite anybody there. She doesn't growl at anybody there. Like,
Unlike at the vet, like I'm usually the one that takes her to the vet, and if we're in the, the room and the vet comes in and talking, she's like tense and you can't. He takes the leash, takes her in the back. You can do whatever. She's an angel.
Yeah.
So it's 100% like if we're around or whatever, he'll snap at but then the same guy will take her in the back and gives her shots, cleans her ears, and she just sits like an angel. So
He's literally said she's an angel. Like completely different on leash than off leash, but we can't obviously take her off leash because we don't trust that she might not go after somebody. So we really want to work on that. With dogs too, she's like when she saw that dog, she's so excited to be with dogs, play with dogs, like be around dogs. And eventually we'd like to get another dog to be with her, but I think we want to straighten out her things first and figure out like if that's a good idea. But a lot of times when she meets another dog, she's really like we listen to her body language quite a bit. Like she's very respectful. She either lays down or she'll get in a playful stance. But generally when she meets dogs out on the street, they snap at her. Like she'll go up to them and she's like, hey, like let's play. And then most of the time the reaction she gets from another dog is negative.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like she doesn't know how to read dog signs or something. And that's kind of why I was like, originally reached out because I was like, we need to find a pack walker. We need to get her more accustomed to like walking with other dogs and just being chill. Because I think her energy is really high. It seems like
it's really high. I think that's
Yeah.
what puts most dogs off is she just comes at them like,
0 to 10.
she's not aggressive,
not
but
aggressive,
she's like
but her version of play is like wrestling.
like 100 miles an hour and every dogs are like, chill out, So we wanted to like correct that, but then obviously it's hard, trying to get her to like family functions and things without being able to trust that we can like have her off leash or like she could just walk around.
And you did previous e-collar work.
Yeah.
What did you cover with the e-collar stuff?
It was mostly for recall. That's kind of how we started with like recall and just like she was so high strung when we first took her to this training, to like e-collar training and prong collar training. She was like pulled on walks and like whatever. So we started using e-collar to like get her better on walks, get her better with recall, and all that stuff improved. But we just really don't know how to train her to be with people because we don't want to like, hey, do you want to try and see if our dog doesn't bite at you or snap at you? It's kind of not something we can practice in a controlled setting without having like a professional. So that's kind of why we were hoping you can help us get
Did
her.
they just do obedience with e-collar?
Mostly, it was like obedience, recall.
More or less, that was it.
Yeah, we worked
They
a
didn't
little.
do behavior work or whatever?
No, we worked a little bit on like trying to meet people. Like we did do a couple rounds of like, she's on leash and we're gonna meet somebody else on leash and we're gonna have a conversation. And she was fine there. I mean, like I said, she responds really well, but we just didn't really know how to train this part. And we're looking for more like opportunities to socialize her with both people and dogs properly.
So there's context and how a dog responds if they
Sit.
comes down to the context. And once you start to understand it, you start to realize the things that you can press, but then also just kind of limitations. So I pick up two things from what you're telling me. One is she's either resource guarding you, and or two, we have a nervous dog that doesn't like, it's normal, in my opinion, for a dog not to like a stranger coming into their personal space.
Yeah.
Okay? Like humans, we're pretty much like that, right? If someone just came up to me and just started grabbing me and touching me, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? You know? But as humans, we don't bite.
Yeah.
We would say, hey, like, leave me alone or whatever. But if they continue to pursue, then you feel the inclination of like, I might have to escalate and be physical here, right? Whereas dogs are primal. If they feel threatened, they're more likely to become defensive. Okay, and excuse the barking, that's our neighbor.
No worries.
Okay.
Our place is, they rent the back half of our building.
Okay.
So our front half is quiet, but then you can hear the barking because they do, the canines on the.
Yeah,
We
we
saw a
saw
bunch of them.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, there
They
must
all
be a
go here.
canine. Okay.
But he's expanding, he bought another building.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
while they're building that building, he's renting our back half. So
Got it.
That's the parking there.
No worries.
The things that we can press would be like if she doesn't like people coming up to her and petting her, like we can work on that stuff, but it's not just the dog. It's also the human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So I can work with the dog, and I already know a lot of things of what not to do, which helps that dog build trust faster with me. Because I don't do the annoying, like, oh, hey, do.
Yeah, she
hates
hates
that.
that. Baby talk sends her to the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's say, and I've been doing this a long time, we find someone to help us, and we go, we're going to do this and that, and whatever you do, even if she's loving it, is don't talk in a high-pitched voice, right? You start the exercise, she starts to love it, the first thing they do, talk in a high-pitched
Yep.
voice, and then we get a trigger,
Yep.
right? And we're like, we just told you not to do that.
We've
And
done
they're
it
like, I
100
get it.
times,
'Cause
yeah.
It's so, instinctual for people, right? So the dog, in my opinion, is like always the easiest part of the training. It's the humans that we're utilizing that
Yeah.
are more difficult, right?
Yeah, I know.
So the things so the way I would, phrase that in terms of limitation would be your friends, your loved ones, people that she would see regularly. I go, it's realistic to expect that we can facilitate a relationship there where she can build trust and stuff, because we're going to see them over and over again, and
Yeah.
she should learn to accept those people.
Yeah.
But when it's like the random stranger on the street, I go, I really don't care too much about that.
Yeah.
Because you could give them the instruction, and then they don't follow your instructions, and then things just kind of go south from there.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's not the hugest setback, but like, we have to understand the dog has their own likes and dislikes, right? And if it's like, we got this person to socialize with her, and they do something that we know that she doesn't like, and even if we told them not to, and then they do it, and she's like, you allowed this person to do the thing that I don't like into my space.
Yeah.
You see that? Like it becomes like a little bit of a trust thing there.
Yeah.
So I had a client, she had a golden doodle. She was like 3 to 5 years old, was attacked by an off-leash dog, and like a light switch the next day was dog aggressive, dog reactive. Okay. We did the training, we made a lot of progress. But I told her, you have work to do here because unfortunately that attack has now created this trust because the dog was in your hands when this attack happened. And this wasn't to shame her, but this was to educate her. Like,
Yeah.
now your dog thinks a certain way because the dog's like, well, I can't count on you to protect me anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it.
So like those are like the nuances of like dog behavior that I think people don't think about because it doesn't, really come to you unless you do this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And you start to see the nuances and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing is, you give your dog something to protect, right? And it's literally, if a prerequisite is met, the dog just kind of turns on, right? It's not like she's plotting. Like let's say for example, I came to pet her right now. She's not plotting in her head right now like Jesse. if you come and touch me, I'm gonna, snap at you, right? That's not going on in her head at all, right? But because she's in your hands, and if I were to come in and then put social pressure on her, the prerequisite has been met with mom, and she gives me something to protect. So she's just gonna automatically turn on. So there was a viral video on social media that went around. It was a dog, two dogs, I think they're like Malinois, behind an electronic fence. Did you ever see this video? So when the vent is closed, they're fighting, and when the vent
I've
opens,
seen it.
they
Yeah,
stop
yeah, yeah.
fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's what I mean. Is the prerequisite is if there's a barrier, we turn on. If there's no barrier, we turn off. There is no plotting going on behind that. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I have a dog, they're resource guards, and they're eating from their bowl, and I know their threshold is like 3 feet. I know if I step 3 feet of their food, they're gonna turn on and guard. But the moment I step out of that threshold, they stop guarding and they eat like normal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Dogs are what I describe as on or off. So right now she's off, but the prerequisite has been met. She's in your hands. So if I were to go and grab a sleeve and touch her and she were to trigger, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think with her, as opposed to some other dogs I've been around, her on and off is binary, meaning there's no gradual. It's like
Yeah.
she's chill and then she's coming after you if she's,
Yeah.
turned
It's
on.
just set off.
So I can't make her like people touching her while in your space. Is it possible? Sure, anything's possible. And we don't know until we press, right? But at the end of the day, if she's like, I don't like it and there's nothing you can do to make me like it, then we're just stuck with, okay, like we know situations to avoid.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Which is why when she goes to daycare, there's no issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're
right?
not there. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And you could, if let's say you brought her here for the first time, probably no issue. If we saw issue, it'd be because it's her first time here. She's stressed because she's in an unknown environment. But after so many times, eventually she's like, okay, I know what I'm doing here. Like nothing to stress about anymore. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the nuance of dog behavior.
Yeah. I would,
It's-
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but I would say like definitely like you had mentioned, like she's either scared, I mean, and I don't want to diagnose, but our experience has been that it's more resource guarding than like scared. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like she's fearful of anything. It's more that, yeah, this is her stuff, this is her job, and that's what she's going to do. But,
Yeah. I think you have a nervous dog,
okay.
not fear. They look
Okay.
similar.
Okay.
So like,
Nervous?
like let's say, for example, if you're in a group setting,
Yeah.
and let's say she's on the leash and stuff, right? And let's say like somebody jumped up and started laughing or started clapping or anything, does she bark or does she just completely chill?
She really doesn't bark normally. She barks at like outside, like, like normal stuff. Somebody rings the bell, she barks. But if we're
She's
like
not a
at our
barker, yeah.
family's house or something, there's always people talking and going on and stuff. And a lot of times she's just laying down and just doesn't.
It's only if they approach me. Like we had, I think the first time we took her home for Christmas, one of my cousins came in and he was like wearing like,
Yeah,
he had
he
like
was-
lights
came in
on
huge.
and he was laughing and he was really loud. And he came like, she didn't bark at him, but he came straight up to me to give me a hug. And she was sitting like this and it just set her off. She was like growling and
Yeah.
like lunged at him. Like nothing happened, but she was definitely like, I need to guard against this like big presence. you know?
Sure. So then, chances are you don't have a nervous dog. You just have a dog that's resource guarding you.
Yeah.
So
She resource guards us all the time with like her, not, if we give her like a bowl of food, she'll just eat fine, but there's certain things like we'll give her like a bone or something special and then she'll bring it to like her spot. And like you said, there's a perimeter. If you get within it, she gives you the eye, and as soon as you start seeing the eye, if you approach, she's gonna start growling and barking.
Yeah.
If you back off, then she just goes and does her thing.
So that's easy. That can be worked on, no problem.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. It's just, it's not that we can't work on things. It's just there's limitations in some regard.
Yeah.
Right?
I get that. I think like the biggest concern is that I just don't want it to be, I mean, I don't know if I'm dreaming, but I just don't want it to be this point where it's like, well, we can't go to family functions because she can't be like around people, or it's like she always has to be unleashed. Like I want to get to a point where that's easier instead of just like avoiding all of life, like finding ways to manage it versus just well, you
no.
can't.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the way it works is, we have to correct things. Like we have to correct the behaviors we don't want. That's for one, right? We have to push things as well. There's just no guarantee that we can make certain things happen.
Okay.
But when we can't make things happen, there are other answers. Okay.
Okay.
So like, for example, let's say you're gonna have a family gathering. Is she muzzle conditioned by chance? No. Have you tried muzzle conditioning?
No.
Any reason?
I only worry about like she is way into using her nose, like into scent work. Like she's very. I get nervous about what that would do to her long term and like how that affects her ability to like interact with the world with her nose.
Doesn't at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we use basket styles.
Okay.
It's most, you probably.
I know what you're talking. Yeah, I've
Dogs can
seen them.
sniff, no problem. They can drink water. They can take treats, all that stuff, no problem.
Okay.
What it does is it removes the anxiety of what happens if she makes a bad decision.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I know we've talked about a lot too. You brought it up, and I think that's the biggest thing, especially with the family events. I think she would be fine if everybody just behaved the way she wanted them to. Unfortunately, they're not a mind reader. Yeah, but you're absolutely right in the sense of if somebody if everybody just doesn't pay attention to her or just does things on her terms, I think it'd be fine. But the minute somebody's like baby talks or scratches her head in a way she doesn't like, she's gonna bite him.
Yeah.
Or at least snap at
them.
them.
Yeah. She not necessarily bite, but she'll snap at people. And
Sure.
we've told people over and over, like, just ignore. Like, best thing to do is just ignore. And
they
she
just
like
don't
relaxes.
listen.
But then inevitably, like an hour in, somebody's like, oh, and they go straight for her head, and like
For sure.
And then
she's
that's a
angry.
problem.
Yeah.
This is all the stuff that, we have to unfortunately work through, right?
Yeah.
So with the muzzle.
And I don't know what this is all about.
Yeah, she's just unsettled, okay. With the muzzle, it allows us to push socially and take off that anxiety of, the error of the human, right? The error of ourselves. Like, let's say, like you turn around for 1 second and all of a sudden that, like, for example, I had a client, he was walking his dog, same thing, human reactor, whatever. He ordered a sandwich and he just stepped in to grab the sandwich. And in the 5 seconds where he stepped in to grab the sandwich, his dog was outside. Like he was like this through the threshold, right? Somebody walked right up to his dog to pet him and the dog snapped at the person. Now everything was fine. It was like a little graze or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's how it works. It's literally 5 seconds and something happens, right?
I've seen it many times. And it's hit or miss. I've been with her where she meets other dogs on walks and they'll say hi and she's fine and they'll do their thing or whatever. And like you said, for a second I turned, I came back, the guy was scratching her on her head. And she didn't do anything because she was focused on the dog.
Yeah.
But that could have easily gone the other way too.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
And it's not like a forever thing, but in the beginning when you're starting to press things that you've not pressed before, right? Like trust me, you will be a nervous wreck. You will be anxious
Yeah,
when your dog is off muzzle, socializing for the first time because you're just going to envision all the things that could happen.
Yeah.
So then we have negative energy, right? And then you're behaving a certain way. That now gives her, like, she sees you, like, why you look so stressed out? She's like, the only difference is there's a lot of people here. So are you stressed out because a lot of people here? She doesn't understand that you're stressed out because you're worried about her and what someone might do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so it becomes a negative feedback loop.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, we use the muzzle to help us kind of get over these things. And then at some point, you may get to the spot of like, okay, I know what, like, this group of people, we're good. But with this group of people, we're still working on things. So then in this group of people, I don't have to muzzle anymore. But with this group of people, we still have some time to go. And there might even be a particular person where it's like, you know what, when that person's around, I'm just not going to take the muzzle.
Oh my God, there's there's one family member where I don't know why she just like.
Well, the introduction they had, he was just 10.
He's a
he
loud,
was just
like,
a
boisterous
loud,
person.
obnoxious. He just came up to her like kaboom, and she from that moment on
She's
hated
like,
him.
does not like him.
Yeah.
And we can work on that.
Okay.
Now, I can work on her. We can only work on him so much.
Yeah, I get you.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you were to be like, okay, sure, like I can control my energy and stuff, then we get even more done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, like, I take her, we do so much for her like, I take her on 2 miles of walks every day. Like, I work with her for at least an hour. Rick works with her. Like, we do training all the time. We, like, try and take her out to places. We, like, she's a great dog. Like, she really is. She's very, like, mentally, we work on nose work. She's stimulated all the time. She doesn't get into things. She's not, like, destructive. She's really good. And she loves to learn. And so we're invested in doing whatever we can. We just couldn't figure out, like, how do we introduce her to people without being a dangerous situation? And that's what we really wanted help with,
Now, part of that is because you just kind of said it was like she's stimulated a lot. That's part of the problem.
Oh, okay.
That's where this is coming from.
Really?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like anxious.
She's passive, but like in a passive position, like she's in a sploot, right?
Yeah.
But the brain is still active. That's why she's whining.
Mm-hmm.
The brain can't turn off.
Yeah, that's totally true with her.
Yeah. So what happens, or what can happen, is when a dog is constantly stimulated, they're under a level of stress all the time. So then when you add in a stressor, i.e., somebody come in to pet her, that's when they jump because to the next degree, because they're already at a baseline stress. When you get a dog to full passivity, 0-1, it takes more before we get to the snap or the lunge or the bark. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't do the things that you're doing. We would just have to put boundaries and rules on them.
Okay.
Okay. Like scent work, like it's funny because I read earlier and in my mind I'm like, all right, this is overstimulation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because of just all the things and like how you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Like she does a lot of things with you. She did scent work. You do work with her an hour a day, and I'm just like stimulation.
I thought it was like good because she was like, I need stuff to do.
It's good if you want to do it. It's typically not good when we're doing it because we do it for the dog.
Oh, that's what I was trying to do. I was like, I really was like, I don't want her to be like bored and destructive because she's never been that way. She's not like a dog that like gets into the garbage or eat things. She's never done that. She's always been like, I'm totally cool, like and calm.
No,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny because I look at her and I'm like, wow, this looks like a dog that has the ability to be passive, but it's the humans that are keeping her stimulated.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's not, obviously you're coming from a good place.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
doing things out of meanness, obviously, or whatever, right?
No, I don't take it.
I get all this stuff all the time because the way we think is different than the way the dog thinks. You know, for dogs, if you take it for an hour-long walk a day, like that's plenty. You know, and then when I take my dogs for a walk, for example, like I have a very strict heel. If I take 5 steps, they take 5 steps. If I take 3, they take 3. When I stop, they automatically sit. And this is with leash or no leash, right? I don't care what the environment is, whether I'm walking in a Home Depot or a PetSmart or busy Ospark or whatever. It's you're here unless I release you. And it's funny because humans are always like, oh, do the dogs even enjoy the walk? I'm like, my dogs love the walk.
Yeah.
Like it's just very structured, but it's that much more exercise because now it's mental focus because I have to match everything that dad is doing.
Yeah.
And then they're rewarded with playtime, right? So if I walk my dogs for an hour, 45 to 50 minutes would be them in a structured heel, whereas the last 5 to 10 minutes would be you're free to be a dog. Okay? But that's why my dogs are very calm and passive dogs because they practice calmness and passiveness.
Okay.
But when we practice a lot of activity or stimulation, now we get a dog that is constantly seeking stimulation and activity. Like that's what she wants right now.
Yeah.
That's why she's not able to settle. She's like, guys, this is boring. You guys are just talking. Like, let's do something.
She's like an adrenaline junkie for sure.
Yeah. So I had a client a long time ago. He had a lab, and his lab was very ball driven. And he'd take him out, and this was in Texas when I first started training a long time ago. So it gets like 100, 105 degrees down there.
Yeah.
He's throwing the ball, right? 30 minutes to an hour. Dog will find shade, lay down. But the moment he picks up the ball and throws again, he'd go again.
Yeah, that's 100% her.
He'd go in the house, he'd put the ball up. 5 minutes later, dog is jumping up, barking at because he'd put the ball in the cabinet, right? So then he calls me and he's like, Jesse, like I exercise this dog like crazy. Sometimes I'm even throwing the ball down the hallway because it's too hot that I can't be out there, this and that. He's like, but the dog just never has enough. I go,
Oh my
right,
God, that's totally
because
her.
it's uncontrolled. I was
Yeah.
like, once you start to put control, now we're gonna start to get, the dog's gonna get the full benefit of the physical outlet, but at the same time be able to turn off when the exercise is done. And all we did was put rules on fetch. So whenever the ball came out, the dog would always be jumping at the ball.
Yeah.
We corrected that. Now like if the ball's in my hands, the dog cannot touch it, period. The dog can only get it when I say break, and then I throw it. Now the ball is available to them. But then when the dog would bring the ball back, I'll tell them now when I tell them to drop, they have to drop it because the guy would have to wrestle the ball out.
That's
right?
100% her. Yeah.
Once we started to put all those rules, he'd play fetch for 30 minutes. Dog was calm as can be. He could put the ball up and no longer jumping and barking anymore.
Oh, that's
because
what we
without
want.
the boundaries, the dog couldn't turn off.
Yeah.
The dog's like, the ball's there, and I want more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Dogs aren't really good with self-regulating.
No, she's terrible at it.
Yeah, the humans have to teach that stuff. But then once the dog learns to self-regulate, it starts to happen on its own.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I'm typically the opposite of everybody, right? So like, for example, we have like 40 dogs here. Our side of the kennel is fairly quiet. If you go to another dog kennel, a lot of times you hear constant barking,
Yeah.
right? It's because it's just constant chaos, right? If there's no rules and boundaries, they just becomes that kind of feedback loop, you
Yeah.
know? a lot of times when clients come over, in the morning, especially across the street, you'll hear the dogs barking, and the client's like, man, it's so crazy. Like I drop my dog off in the morning and I just hear all this barking, but then I come here and it's just like completely quiet. When I do my consults or that client, that's just her second class, she came in and she's like, do you even have dogs here? I'm like, yeah, we got like 40 of them. And I was like, it's just structured, so there's no barking, but that's what's healthy for dogs.
Yeah.
It's easy to do the lovey-dovey stuff, the treats, the affection, the play. It looks good.
Yeah.
But it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
On the back end. Okay. Question on any of that stuff?
No, I think that's like, I think you nailed it 100%, because that's like one thing we always joke about. She's like, she's never happy when we'll play for an hour and then we'll stop playing, and she literally like collapses, and she's super dramatic, like, why are you stopping? Like, I want to play still.
Almost like she's pouting.
She pouts, yeah. And so we always joke, we're like, she never has enough energy. And I think, in my mind, we were like, well, let's just fuel it. So let's give her other things. And she does get really tired out. Like when we do nose work and stuff, she'll sleep like immediately afterwards. And we thought that was good, but maybe we're like, yeah, like to your point, we're giving her too much and she's constantly stimulated. So she definitely doesn't know how to turn it off. And with the ball thing, same thing. I could throw it, in this heat, and she's like panting and she's exhausted, but she will not stop.
Yeah.
Like she just wants to keep going until,
Once you start to like actually do controlled or regulated play, you start to see just how quickly they do tire. So this is probably not a great example, but it's kind of like, if someone does like cocaine, they're just constantly on.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Up,
You're like a
That's
junkie.
like what ends up happening with the dog. Like
Yeah.
they're just constantly on, and they could be physically fatigued. So actually that dog you just saw here, you saw him laying down, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning of the class, he wouldn't lay down. He was standing the entire time. And he kept lifting up his legs. And I told her, do you know why he's lifting his legs? And she's like, no, it's like because he wants to lay down, but he's so anxious he's unable to.
Oh, buddy.
So in this case, it's the same thing, but it's overstimulation. That's not letting
Yeah.
the dog like realize like I need to like relax. I need to like rest right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your remote collar, do you use it still at all, or
Not as much, honestly. Like we probably should.
did you use it for heel?
Did I use it for heel?
I don't know if you did. We did that.
Yeah, we
training.
did. Yeah, we did for heel. The biggest thing was for recall, because she was terrible at that for a while, and now she's 90%. I wouldn't say, like, if there's a dog around, probably not.
Is collar on or collar off?
Collar off. Collar off for sure. She won't come if there's another dog around. But like, collar on, she's pretty good. Yeah. She's.
So what you're gonna do here is you're gonna pull her in front of you.
Come here.
Yep. And then you're gonna pull up on your leash
Sit. Good.
and then relax.
Okay.
Yep. Now here, if she gets up again, you're not gonna say sit. What you're gonna do is you're simply gonna pull up and then lightly press down on the hindquarters.
Okay.
Now, this is probably from previous training. People tend to do popping, right? You just did it, like so up on your leash. And then yes. So what we do is we pull up, we keep pressure on. Once the dog gives us what we want, we relax. Okay. Now, if she happens to lay down, we'll let the lay down happen. But if she stands or moves in any way, you're gonna pull up until she goes back to sit. We're not gonna praise. We're not gonna acknowledge. We're not gonna say sit or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. So, how long ago was the e-collar work done?
We did it for like 3 to 4 months. No, like probably like 5 months, and then like 5 months. No, 3 months consistently, and then like for the several months after, we were like pretty consistent, doing it a couple times a week. We'd incorporate it into like whatever hour training that I do with her, and then we just don't use it as much anymore, because like once she kind of got.
Well, I think what happens with us is once winter hit, we're going out for short walks. We're not doing as much stuff. So then the collar became less necessary
Makes sense.
because we're just going out to have a potty break and come back in. So I think that's where it kind of declined. Yeah.
And like I didn't really like when I take, because I take her for an hour walk every day, even in the winter. But like I just didn't need it. Like she would loose leash walking. She wasn't bothering anybody. She wasn't pulling. Like we didn't really need it anymore. I mean, I guess we argue we do because she still has issues or whatever. But for the day-to-day things, we didn't need it. As long as I like avoided people and avoided other situations, she's totally fine.
Sure. I
Yeah.
gotcha. So for us, structures every day. So like I said earlier, when I walk my dogs, they're under control 80% of that walk. And then the last 20% is you're free to be a dog and do your doggy thing, right? Because your dog becomes what you practice with them. So loose leash walking, because people usually just care about the pulling, there's no structure to that, right? If she's like, oh, if I can sniff this, but as long as I don't put pressure on, I don't pull you, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, she's making decisions.
Yeah.
So if she can decide to just wander off and sniff, then she can decide to snap at someone if she doesn't like to shoot their partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the little things lead to the bigger things. So structure has to be practiced every day. You as humans know not to run red lights, not to go speeding, right? Not to steal, right? Dogs aren't like that. They don't ever kind of learn, I'm not supposed to do this thing. And when we practice the heel, for example, every day, multiple times a day, it helps keep the structure in play. Like for me to have 40 dogs here and it not be loud is structure every day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Otherwise, that would just be in any other kennel.
Yeah.
You know, so if I can do it with 40 dogs, and sometimes we have as many as 60 to 70 dogs,
Yeah.
and it's still just as quiet, you know, then I tell everybody you can do it with one dog.
Yeah.
That's the good news.
Yeah.
Okay.
For
Now,
sure.
when it comes like to the e-collar stuff, like usually people ask like, well, when does it go away? In my book, when you need it, it doesn't, right? So it's like if she's going to be, you know, in a group of people, if we're taking her out for a walk, if she's going to be off leash, whatever, she has a collar on. If she's a great dog inside the house and nothing's going on, I don't need the collar, right? If it's just a quick little run out to go pee and come back in because it's, you know, the polar vortex weather, we don't need the collar, right? But if it's we're going for a nice long hour-long walk, I want the collar because I need to be able to reinforce all the structure. The moment you start, no matter who you work with, the moment you start to digress on the routine and structure and consequence, old dog starts to come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like, you know, humans, like, you know, if I'm, for example, this has been an on and off project for me, working out, trying to get in better shape, right? Like this morning I have to make myself do it, but it's been like 3 weeks since I did it the last time, but I'm trying to get back in the habit of doing it at least 3 to 4 times a week. I'm having to build that. It's a self-discipline,
Yeah.
right? For dogs, unfortunately, they don't self-discipline. Like you are the discipline.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a great job of reinforcing everything day in and day out, then you start to make a lot of progress, and then you start to keep that progress because then you feel like, I've already achieved it. Now it's just maintaining what I've achieved, right? Right now, I'm in the process of trying to achieve what I want. Once I get there, as long as I keep up with my exercise and my diet and everything, I would then maintain what I've achieved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of times people can feel bad, like, oh, but like, when does the dog learn to be a good dog or, you know, make the right choices? I'm like, they don't. Your dog's being a good dog because you're doing a good job of being a good leader,
Yeah.
right? Our dogs here are doing great because I do a good job about leading my staff and make sure if they make a mistake, oh, you got to fix that, right? Oh, make sure that dog has a muscle. Oh, make sure that dog's got its e-collar on, right? And they're like 80-90% consistent, but they make mistakes even in their humans. But I tell them, that's why I pay them, right? And then they go and they fix the thing.
Yeah.
Because of that consistency, that's what allows me to keep what I have. The moment I stop with that, it just becomes any other kennel here.
Yeah.
Okay, so part of this process would be we have to recondition the collar. Every trainer trains differently. Okay, if she doesn't understand the collar, the e-collar, as I use the collar, and we try to press things like the behavior, like the socialization, we're going to have miscommunication. That's where things become worse,
Yeah.
so to speak, because the dog's like, I don't understand what we're trying to communicate because I didn't learn
This way.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So we always start with heel first. Heel is the first thing that we teach. So that dog actually bites people and has bitten the owner. Okay, you may not
Oh,
think
that
of
one?
it. Yes.
That little guy?
Okay, that dog's here for human aggression.
Aw.
He's bitten a few people pretty good.
Okay.
Okay. And he was also previously e-collar trained.
Okay.
So her first class was heel part 1. Because of 4th of July, we're here. Otherwise, I'd be at Oz Park. I was like, okay, instead of doing heel part 2, we're going to work on the crate stuff because she needs to be able to crate the dog. I'm like, well, might as well do that while we're at the facility. Okay. So same thing for your dog. We'd always start with heel.
Okay.
Typically 2 classes. Okay. That's what helps the dog learn the e-collar the way I use it. Okay. And then we start to jump into behavior work almost by class 3.
Okay.
Now, I can only take you as far as you're willing to go when it comes to like the behavioral stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, every case is different. I don't know how bad it's going to be. I don't know how easy it's going to be. Essentially, I'd have to make contact with her. I'd have to touch her, and if she acts out, we have to correct it. Okay. The next part is I highly suggest muzzle conditioning if you're trying to press her as much as you want to press her. Okay, because then the next thing is if we're trying to ask someone to pet your dog, it's funny because people will pet your dog with no permission, no problem. The moment you ask someone to pet your dog, they go, why?
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
I've seen this time and time again. You go outside like, hey, can you pet my dog? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of nervous, trying to socialize her. No muzzle, no, I'm
Yeah.
good. But they will pet your dog, no problem, uninvited,
yeah.
without asking. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it, right? The second part of it is, okay, well, if we're pressing her and we know that she might snap or bite, right? We want something, of course, to
Yeah.
protect the person. But then also, we start to pair in food as well. Okay, so I'm not against food. I do use food. I just don't jump to it as my first. It's usually an add-on, right? So if we're pressing her and she takes the affection well and she doesn't react or whatever, and we tie in food with that, she's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, the first time I snapped, the second time I didn't snap, nothing bad happened, and then I got something good out of it. That's what starts to help with the conditioning process, is you have to
it.
have both. Okay?
She's highly food motivated. Highly food motivated.
And sometimes that can create a problem because then the dog is so stimulated with the food that it starts to agitate them if
Yeah.
they're not getting the food. So, but with the remote collar, it allows us to like fix all those things
Okay.
because we have the ability to correct. When you don't have the ability to correct, that's where things are a lot harder because there's nothing to deter the behavior. Okay. Now, can we do things like you're holding her and you know someone comes in and hugs you and stuff like that, and we correct the reactivity? Yes. Okay. What I do in those situations is I tell people we're doing this as a buffer. Meaning, I wouldn't just go about hugging people all the time, you know, going like, okay, my dog can tolerate it, so I'm just gonna push it. It's more like, oh, somebody came out the blue and hugged me, right? And she was like, typically I would react here, but because we worked on it, I'm gonna choose not to react. Does that make sense? That's what I mean
Yeah.
by buffer.
Like, we shouldn't be exploiting the fact that like she's good around them now, but like once in a while we shouldn't have to worry like every single time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So to give an example, this was another pit. It was a fear aggression case, and nobody could touch the dog's tail, not even the owners. Okay, so I pressed it. Took me about 2 to 3 classes. It was very difficult for the dog because clearly nobody could touch her tail, and to the point that it upset the owner. Okay, but I was like, trust me, you know, let me do my thing. I did it. Fast forward, because we used to live in the same neighborhood. I was in Pilsen at the time. I was at a bar named Skylark, and you know, I'm with my friends, and then I guess he sees me, comes over, he's like, hey Jesse, let me buy you a shot. Like, what was it, a PBR and Jameson shot or whatever, right? He's like, I got to tell you something. So then, I guess it was Pilsen Fest, which is on 18th Street. He was on one of the north and south streets. They're in front of one of their friends' homes with their dog, and she was off leash because she had made a ton of progress. And a kid randomly ran up and then grabbed her tail.
Oh.
And everybody just kind of looked because they already kind of knew, like, oh, right? Kid let go, took off, nothing happened.
Oh wow.
And he's like, I understand why now that you did what you did. I go, yes.
Yeah.
I was like, because they're very social people. Like, their dog didn't allow them to be social because they used to have parties all the time, but once they got their dog, they couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then after we did the training, they were able to have more of a normal life. And I was like, sooner or later, somebody's going to do something stupid and grab your dog's tail.
Yep.
Like, those are the things that I planned for, you know? So they weren't out, like you said, exploiting, like, oh, anybody can touch our dog's tail. It was like, in case it happened, we have that buffer there.
Yeah.
You know, that the dog shouldn't do anything. Thankfully, nothing happened to the kid.
That's
Kid took
awesome.
off,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, I think that's like that's what I want to envision. Like, it's not like we want to push her into situations she's uncomfortable with, but at the same time, it's like, we know we can't just like cut ourselves off from
Yeah,
the
they're
world.
gonna happen.
So we want to be able to be at a point where she's like, somebody might come up to me on the street. Like, it happened this morning. Like, somebody was looking for a coffee place in our neighborhood, and they were like, hey, do you know where a coffee place is? And she started to walk towards me, and I was like, hey, can you please stay away? My dog's afraid of strangers. And she did. But she kept talking to me, and she was talking loud, so then she started getting like growly, and she's like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to my mom? And like, I can't avoid those situations. Like, that's gonna happen, so I want her to be in a position where she's not gonna bark or growl. Even if somebody listens to me, like, hey, stay away.
Yeah.
Like, her sitting there barking at this person is not helpful, you know? So
Correct.
we want to work on that.
Sure.
And
So go ahead and bring her up front again.
yeah, sorry.
But she broke
Come.
it. It's okay.
Come.
And then up. And then relax.
Good.
Good. Yeah, I mean, that's just life.
Yeah.
You know, so
especially in a city. You know, it's like we're gonna come across people.
The other thing is like I educate you on your dog's behavior, so you start to understand like how she feels in certain because I think it's very important.
Yeah.
So like when I get dogs that are reactive and like sometimes the owner just thinks like the dog's quote unquote being bad. But I'm like, but if you go out to the world, I was like, you have to understand that your dog sees another dog as a potential threat. So if they're becoming reactive, it's more so like a self-preservation, protective, like, hey, keep away, like, you know, whatever type of thing. I was like, it's not your dog trying to just actively be an asshole. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you know, there's reason behind what they do. Dogs don't do things for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not like humans.
Yeah.
A human could decide out of nowhere, like, I'm gonna punch you as I walk by, you know, for whatever stupid reason. Dogs don't do that. Dogs are purely instinctual.
Yeah.
So once you start to understand it, what it allows you to do is it allows you to predict things. Like for me, I'll, for example, with that particular client, I told her at the beginning of class, I'm like, once your dog starts to understand that it cannot escape the kennel, he's going to start going back towards the back of the kennel. He's going to start sitting and laying down. Fast forward like 20, 25 minutes into the lesson, he started to back into the kennel and lay down. And I said, see what I said?
Yeah.
I was like, I can already predict things because I know what's going to happen. But then once you go, okay, I have this dog, and like you go to a degree already know, right? And it's like, oh, I see this person, they kind of look like they're walking towards me, they're going to say something. I already know this might be a trigger. So then I start preparing, not like this, because most people do this,
Yeah.
but I start preparing, I'm like, okay, I might have to issue a correction here because there might be an escalation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now you're more proactive in, I can address the behavior in case it happens, because that's really where the learning is. It's when things happen organically.
Yeah.
When we do the setups, in my opinion, your dog knows it's a setup. But the setup allows us to layer a foundation. Once we have the foundation, if you're out in the real world and that thing happens organically and you have to correct your dog's like, oh, this is just like the setup. So if I just maybe stop barking, the pressure will turn off. And then they stop barking, she's like, oh, but nothing bad is happening with this person.
Yeah.
And then it allows them to see like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have to behave a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure.
So part of it is like training your dog. Part of it is obviously training you, but then also educating you on like how do you live with the dog that you have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Question on any of that?
I don't think so. I mean,
I think as far as our life with her is really good.
yeah.
I don't think we have any home issues. In fact, we realize that a lot of stuff people have to go through, we do not with her.
Yeah.
We haven't had it. She's not destructive like she was saying. She's not, she goes outside when she has to go. She lets us, she's really good at home. It's just the other, the external, just people doing something stupid, or well, not even something stupid, but just doing something that she doesn't like.
Yeah.
You know.
And
No,
we're-
I
and
agree,
we're-
it's stupid.
And she's not, for the most part, she's not reactive to dogs at all. I mean, if she sees a dog, like you see other people walking dogs and they start barking like crazy or whatever. She's not. She's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
dog, I want to play.
When I see a person come, that's why I was like, is she reactive? Because typically with pits, they're known for overstimulation and reactivity.
Yeah.
You know, so when you came in and she was just barely pining, I'm like, oh, okay, close.
Yeah. No, she like, that's her thing is she usually just like lays down. She's like, hey, if I lay here, maybe we can go play. Like she's excited to see other dogs. But I mean,
People, different story.
people, it's
People
but it's
safeguards.
people on leash. Like if I came in here and I gave you the leash and I walked away, you guys would be like probably, I would assume, fine. Like that's always been like that when we brought her to daycare. We hand her off and they're like, they pet her, you know, they rub her head, they do whatever, and it's fine.
How long has she been going to that daycare?
Since she was a puppy,
Yeah,
like
that's part of the reason.
yeah.
So typically, so dogs will develop behavioral issues around 6 months, a year, and 2 years. So like, let's say a lot of people notice like, oh, at 6 months my dog became selective of like who it played with or like the people it liked, right? But anybody the puppy met prior to that shift is in the clear, or places they went. So in your case, the daycare. Even if it's different people at the daycare, right? They hire new employees, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
The place itself, if
It's
she's been going there
familiar.
forever, is a place of trust,
Yeah.
which is highly likely the reason why
Yeah.
that she's just completely fine there.
And about 6 months is right when we got her. The first 6 months, there's very little known about her history.
Yeah, we have no idea. But like, yeah, I mean,
We got her from the shelter, and she wasn't at the shelter very long. We got her kind of right away. I think they only had her for a few weeks before we adopted her. So it's like the first 6 months of her life, who knows?
Yeah.
So
And that doesn't matter to what's going on now.
yeah.
okay.
You know, like dogs don't live in the past; they live purely in the present. You know, You know, I had a guy, his dog just passed actually. He had a Doberman he adopted, and she had stab wounds and bullet wounds.
Oh.
Like she was clearly abused. It was bad. So when he got her, she was just antisocial. He couldn't have people come over or whatever. He did the training. He was really good about like following through and pressing and all that stuff. And then she opened up. She's the sweetest dog. He used to take her to like family things and all that stuff. Never an issue. But because she came from an unstable place, she was unstable for a time.
Yeah.
But because she went to a stable home, who then also seeked out help, we were able to get her back to who she was, which was stability.
Yeah.
So a dog will return to who they are when they go into a stable home. So if you have an unstable dog, even in a stable home, you'll still get instability. Okay. If you get a stable dog, they'll be unstable for a bit, going from an unstable environment, but once they go to a stable home, back to stability, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we first got, I mean, she's so much better than when we first got her. Not that
just
she was a
wild.
terror.
She was just wild, like completely wild.
Yeah. And then once we started doing training and stuff, I mean, obviously she's just way better.
It's the biggest thing is that we want to, like, if we lived out in the country with no one, we probably wouldn't seek out training. But the fact that like we both have like, we're really close with our families. We go to family stuff all the time. Like we want to be able to take her there and not worry and not
Well,
have
just
to like
simple things too, like we bring her to the park and the other dogs are running around and we don't feel confident to let her go and play, you know? It's like,
Even with your collar.
we haven't really done that, but I don't know if we'd feel confident
I
to do
wouldn't
that,
because not because of the dogs, but more because of the people. Like
Yeah.
if somebody went up and they were like, "Oh, Ollie," and they pet her while she had, even with the e-collar on, I don't know what she would do.
I got you.
Or if I could react fast enough.
Or if she saw some kids down the other end and they're running and throwing a ball or something, she would
She might-
key in on
yeah.
that.
Does she have any issue with kids that you've seen?
Not that we just really, there's no
directly.
kids in our family really. Like,
Yeah, I mean, not directly, I haven't seen her necessarily. Like when we walk and stuff, just to clarify, like if I walk her, she, for the most part, doesn't even pay attention to other people. We're talking only like when people try and engage with her.
Yeah.
So if it's just people just walking by or whatever, she'll maybe lift her head and sniff, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's only things like people on scooter, you know, typical stuff that the dog's gonna be like, what the hell's that? You
Yeah.
know?
But
to
she-
just be like if someone's walking with a cane, then I'm kind of like, oh, that's gonna. She's like, what's that?
It's
You know?
it's like new to her. The only I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah, she's. And that was what I was gonna say is when you said like baby talk and stuff. Like if we're sitting, she's really good. She'll like center. Like she goes between my legs usually when we're at a stop sign or an intersection. I'll stop and she'll just sit there and she's minding her own business. But if somebody's like next to us or they like come up and they're waiting to cross the street too and they'll be like, "Oh, your dog is so cute," and they'll start baby talking and they like look straight into her eyes.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
It's all over. It's all over. If they were just standing there and not doing anything and they were just waiting, she wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But as soon as they engage with her and they like stare into her eyes and they're like, "Oh, you're so cute," it's the worst. She doesn't do anything, but she'll start growling. You could tell she's tense. You could see it in her eyes. Like they may not, but I can see it. And like,
Well, she doesn't do anything because we have her on a leash.
Yeah.
If she wasn't on a leash, she'd do something probably.
yeah.
I get you. Yeah.
So we'd like to be able to manage those situations. But I mean, I know we can't control people, but at least like if she's not every time somebody baby talks to her.
No, what happens is you get such a well-behaved dog that people go further.
Yeah, I think that's it because she comes in between my legs at an intersection and people are like, "Oh, your dog's so well behaved," and I'm like, "No,
One
but
thing
she
that I
gets."
recommend is it's an attachment that goes on your leash and it says like "Don't pet nervous dog" or something.
Oh,
like
I have
that.
one.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's funny, like they do help a lot.
Do they?
But I even
Okay.
had clients that like, "Jesse, I don't understand. I got this thing that says like don't touch my dog," and like there they go. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, they just get tunnel vision. They don't.
Oh, she's
read.
cute and she looks like harmless or whatever, and people are like, "Oh,"
Yeah. No,
and
for
I'm like,
sure.
"No, please don't."
Yeah, I mean, I saw stuff that I'm just used to, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's surprising because you'd be like, common sense would tell you like just like not, you know, but
Yeah.
common sense ain't so common anymore.
Yeah.
I say.
No.
So, so in terms of length of time and everything, I'd probably put you at 9 classes. So we do 3, 6, 9, and 12 class programs.
Okay.
Okay. There's some obedience stuff that we have to cover. So heel is obviously one of them. It takes 2 classes. I'd recommend covering duration work, which is place. So going to place and not moving for a few hours. So if you look up on the TV up there in the top right corner, you'll see like dog beds. Right now they're empty because they're probably in the middle of a rotation. There's one that still has a dog on it. So places, go to your bed and you can't move for the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. Okay. The reason why that's important is like, let's say we're gonna have a social gathering. Let's say we're pressing socially or whatever, right? But like, there's just like certain people she doesn't like, or if you've pressed it 1,000 times and you're just like, Jesse, she just doesn't really want to interact with people outside of us. Place allows you to have her in the social gathering, but like controlled so we don't have to worry about her.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've tried it. She's decent at it.
Not
She
good
cold?
enough.
Not good
No.
enough, yeah.
So place for us is like, it's indefinite. Like
Yeah.
the dog's not going to get off until I say break.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's decent at it. Like I said, she's really eager to learn, and I think that's like why we have so much hope, because she's like in the proper structured environment, she does awesome. We just don't know how to get her past this like people part
Yes.
by ourselves. Yeah.
So when behaviorally, because we have obedience and behavior, right? Behavior would be getting her to be social with people. Obedience is, okay, we've tried to get her to be social with people. She's just not having it. But at least I can have her in the context and have her under control where I don't have to worry about what is she doing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have stationary control. I would suggest covering recall because it doesn't feel like our confidence in our recall is very high.
Yeah.
We recall allows you to just have much more just
Yeah.
with your dog. And I know part of it, as you said, like, you know, if she's across the park and I see someone, like I can't, like, you know, like I don't know if that person's gonna touch her or something like that. That partially just awareness, like you can kind of tell when like people have the way they look at your dog. I'd like just call my dog right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even gonna give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. And they might be like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you know, nervous dog, no worries. You know. So I'm making decisions proactively to prevent things from possibly happening. You know, like I was at the park with a client last weekend, and an off-leash dog ran towards us in a friendly manner, and I right away get in the middle. And it was a golden retriever that I was working with, right? And a lady comes up to me like completely like surprised, like, well, why you're not letting my dog say hi to this dog? I'm like, we're training right now.
Yeah.
You know, she took her dog, you know, whatever, walked away. And my client just like happened to like actually be one of those people that doesn't like random dogs running up to their dog. You know, which to me, in my experience, people with golden retrievers typically don't care. Right? But they're like, yeah, no, we don't like random dogs running up to our dog because we don't know the other dog. I'm like, no, absolutely, 100%. You know, I'm glad that I took the initiative there and just assumed like, okay, I'm going to handle the situation, you know? But things like that is I've learned to just be very proactive because humans tend to be reactive. Right? So earlier when I mentioned you see someone coming into your space, you're already kind of preparing yourself, but not in a like kind of way, more of like, I'm gonna handle the situation. So I'm gonna pull her off. There you go. Excellent. Good. A little frustration there because she's like, what the hell's going on here? Okay. Yep. Up. There you go. And relax. Good. Now here, if she jumps on you, you're not gonna stand up. You're going to use your prong and you're actually going to pull away from you and then up to get the sitting position and then relax.
Okay.
Okay. So then the other classes would be to help push behaviorally. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have to do social pressure, which is touching her. We have to correct that stuff. Then we have to do pairing. How do we introduce her to a person correctly? We usually pair that with food. And then we're going to need to do sessions actually with people. How is she with guests coming over?
Like I said, if they ignore her, fine.
But does she bark and just put her in?
Well, it's hard to say because the only people we've really had over since we had her have been relatives that we see kind of frequently, but she's gotten progressively better. Like as an example, if her parents came over initially, like from the beginning, she would bark and go crazy, and sometimes we even had to, and I'm talking when we first got her, put her in her crate just to, you know. But now
She'll place for like most of the
she'll
time.
lay on the couch, they'll be there. She doesn't even mostly pay attention to them.
But if somebody knocks on the door, like if if
Yeah.
deliveries or something come and somebody knocks the door or brings the door, she'll bark. But we can usually like control, like we've gotten her, like we do this, she'll like usually be quiet.
But not with new guests. You've not tried.
Not really.
It's hard to say, yeah, I don't think.
We just haven't
But I'm
trusted
assuming
it.
that's going to be part of what you're wanting. Okay.
Yeah.
So then that becomes a class. Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I think the biggest thing right now is people at some point, like I said, initially, she loves being around dogs, but I think has it something in her vibe. She doesn't approach dogs right sometimes, and it pisses them off. And
Yeah,
maybe
oh, yeah,
that's
so that point too. So like, I'm not a fan of random interactions with dogs because it can always go south because we don't know the other dog.
yeah.
So like, I had a client, her dog was social. She was at, I pronounce it Trevis, but apparently it's Treves Park, which is in Lincoln Park.
Okay.
And because I barely learned this like a week ago, and it's like still like a
I wouldn't
mind
even have
flip
known.
for me. I'm like,
I don't even know. Yeah.
so it's Treves Park, right? So she's there with her dog. This lady walks up with her dog and goes, "Can my dog say hi?" My client goes, "Yeah, sure." They're saying hi, and then the lady's dog attacks my client's dog. Okay, and now my client recalls her dog, pulls her dog away, nothing happened. And she's like, "Oh, is everything okay? Like, did my dog do something?" The lady's like, "Oh, no, we just got this dog 2 days ago, and we don't know what his deal is."
Oh.
So my client was like, "If you would have told me that you were having this issue, my answer would have been very different." You know what I mean? So there's even just the ignorance of the other person.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, either in that case, you know, or like their dog is also having bad manners with introduction. And if your dog has bad manners with introduction,
It's
those
not gonna
tend
go
to
well.
go south
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
So like, I care about the dogs that she sees regularly. If she's already capable of going to a dog park and whatever, it's just the human factor, right? That's a separate thing. Now, I can show you how to introduce her to another dog the correct way, but it's really just for like new dogs she would meet. Like, let's say if your family member got a dog, like that, because it's controlled.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like the random person on the street, like they're not going to go through like all the steps
Yeah.
to do it the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I
Okay?
guess that's where I've always kind of like struggled because like we don't take her to dog parks or whatever, but I guess
Like we'll take her to like the park.
Yeah, and if there's
there
a
might be
dog,
dogs there, but we don't let her loose in
yeah.
any dog.
I mean, I don't think
park.
that would be a great situation for her anyway, but like I guess it would be nice to be able to just at least understand how to read, like, is this going to go right or is this going to go wrong? Or in the inevitable situation where like his mom has dogs and she's actually been around them off leash and been fine. But even then, like those dogs are just, they're
They're
kinda weird.
antisocial.
They're
They don't want to be
antisocial.
around her, and then they just get cranky around her. Where she's just sitting there like, who cares? We're just chilling out. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, so her reaction is 100% based on how that dog reacts to her. If she meets a dog that's like totally chill and wants to play and have a good time, that's what's going to happen. If a dog has an attitude or doesn't want anything, then she's like, what the hell's the problem?
Sure.
You know, that's really what it comes down to with her, at least that I've seen. I haven't seen her have any like real issues with a dog or anything like that. She wants to play, and if you don't, then she wants to know what's up. That's about it.
I guess for me though, I just want to know how to like read that better to be like, okay, this is a bad situation, this is a good, like, because
It can happen in the blink of an eye.
really,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, for the most part, I mean, I look for her. She like puts her butt up, and she's like in a playful stance, and or she just lays down, and she like lets a dog come and sniff her, and she's fine. But then like that'll be happening, and then the other dog will growl at her, and I'm like, what just happened? Because she didn't do anything. Like,
Yeah.
and I,
Well, earlier he said like her energy, like she's probably just too enthusiastic.
yeah, maybe,
Dog, that you can look at that as kind of like humans baby talking to her,
yeah,
right? It's just too much energy, and they're disagreeing with the energy.
okay,
You know, now we can tone her down to a degree with the remote collar. Like we can do kind of more nuanced communication like that, and it won't inhibit her socialization. Also, that's like how do you say? Like, let's say they're having an interaction, and like you noted, the other dog has a problem, and then she reacts to that. Like you have the ability to actually de-escalate the situation.
yeah,
Okay. Unfortunately, this dog we don't have control over.
Right.
But a lot of times, if her behavior triggered this dog, and then you address her, this dog will simply just chill, because like, oh, okay, cool, the annoying energy has been taken care of. If that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
So-
yeah. I do think she probably has annoying energy to some dogs.
And I think that's really all we care about for the most part is the family stuff and dogs and people that we would interact with on a somewhat regular basis. Because the one thing I definitely learned from when we had training before is I have no problem on a walk just being like saying no. Like, can my dog say no? Just no. And they don't care. They walk away, think I'm a jerk. I don't care because the results that could happen, I'd rather be the jerk that said no.
Yeah, we'll like advocate for her, but I mean, I think also, I also, at some point, we may want to get her a partner, and I want to be able to be like, is that actually good for her, or is she like, does she get along with dogs? Does she like, how is,
Sure.
like,
So bringing a dog into the home, unfortunately, there's no way to predict if it'll go well or not. Like I've had clients in the past with reactive dogs who are completely antisocial, get another dog for whatever reason, and it'd be completely fine
Yeah.
because they're with each other 24/7. So it
Yeah.
helps them kind of acclimate faster. I've also had clients get another dog, and then
Good girl.
2 years into having both dogs, all of a sudden they start fighting. Like unfortunately, it's just there's things that just happen.
yeah,
But the difference would be you have a resource.
yeah.
And then I've worked through pretty much everything there is to work through as a dog trainer, doing it
Yeah.
for 15 years.
Yeah, because she had two brothers growing up, or well, when they were like let out on the street or dropped off at a police station, and they said we're gonna if you don't take them to the police station, we're gonna like let them just wander the streets.
Yeah.
So it was like her and her two brothers. So they got taken into foster care. She was in foster care with like two other dogs, and then so all of her life prior to us, she was with dogs, and then she came to our house and it was by herself. So like, I don't know. In some ways, I kind of think she's kind of missing out on that, but
That's the human component.
I know.
If you want to get another dog, get another dog.
Okay.
But remember, don't do anything for her.
Okay.
Do things for you. And it's not because like I'm a jerk or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I get it.
But you'd be surprised how often I get clients having issues with their dogs and they're doing everything for the dog.
Yeah.
Like I had a client who she had a husky who was super reactive, and she used to walk him 3 hours a day.
Oh my God.
Okay, and the dog was still super reactive. And then we did the training or whatever, right? And then I told her, by the way, I was like, you don't have to walk the dog 3 hours a day. She's like, oh, I love walking him. She's like, I do it for me. He just gets to hop along for the ride. I'm like, great, then continue doing your 3 hours of walks a day. I don't care.
That's
But
a
I just want
long
to make sure you weren't doing it for the dog and
Yeah.
the behavior. Because that was all about discipline and consequence. That's how we fix the reactivity.
Okay.
So yeah, I think at a minimum I put you around 9.
Okay.
You can do 12 as well. If you do longer, what it allows us is just more time to get as much done as possible.
Okay.
Okay. So most people's ceilings are like down here, and my ceiling is like all the way up here, because I push as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then we don't know what we're gonna get unless we do push as
Yeah.
much as possible, right? So sometimes clients are like, Jesse, I want to be able to just walk my dog. Like I don't even, off leash is just a dream. And then we're like, holy crap, like, oh, my dog's off leash right now, because of the tool that we're using. So 9 at minimum because of all the behavioral stuff. Obedience is easy. As long as you're doing your homework, I know what I can get done within a period of time. Behavior is always gray area because, we can cover something and your intention can be, I want to do 10 exercises this week. And you come back and you're like, I only did 2.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know.
super invested in it.
I was going to say, I don't think you have to worry about that. We put the time in with her. I just hope that we're been doing it correctly. Maybe we've been doing too much in the wrong direction
I think
for
that's
her.
the thing is like, honestly, that's like maybe, and that's probably a lot me, but like, I was like, she needs this, she needs stimulation, she needs like whatever. And I think I'm ready to put in all the work, so maybe I just put in too much work. Like maybe I give her too much.
You put in a lot of work in the wrong area.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, if we're talking about behavior.
Yeah.
And it happens. That's why, like trainers like myself are very hard to come by because
Yeah.
the way I talk and the way I think, the way I teach, everything that I do is like almost opposite to like the most popular stuff that you'll read on the internet or that you'll come across in dog training.
Yeah.
Like positive reinforcement is great. Like almost every trainer does positive reinforcement. But I learned a long time ago, it only gets you so far and it actually has the lowest ceiling, especially when it comes to behavior work. So I only use food from puppies under 6 months, which I don't even train puppies anymore. And then like in this case where I was like, if we were pressing sociability, we have to correct what we don't want, but then we also reward when she makes a good decision. So then it has the value there, but it's being paired with the consequence though, which makes it more meaningful.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody you go to, like, oh, we're gonna use food, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that with food, this and that, and then it's just like doesn't fix anything.
I think her I think it's a combination of what just so you know where she came from, like how she was trained. It was like, especially when we got to the point with the e-collar, because we started regular and then worked up to the prong and then eventually to the e-collar. And it would be like, let's say, for example, a heel. Let's say you're walking and the minute she would break heel or whatever, you'd give her a zap or whatever, and then when she corrected, then you gave her a treat, and then you would proceed. So that's basically the thinking is like you make the correction with the thing, and then when she did what she's supposed to do, you gave her the treat.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's kind of
And
where
she's like come further with every training. Like
Oh, yeah.
originally we had her in like a pretty basic puppy training, like not puppy, she was 8 months or something. But it was like a very initial, and it took her to some spot, but it like wasn't enough. And then
Yeah.
we tried this like other training, and once we did like e-collar and prong, then that took her to like the next level. And she like, every time she's progressed, but like, yeah, we're just kind of at this plateau, especially with the behavioral stuff. So
Behavior is very tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people do behavior. A lot of people don't know what they're doing with behavior.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
I don't think we've had behavior training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like
Yeah.
everything you've done for the most part has been obedient.
Exactly, yeah.
But I do get a lot of clients that come from a lot of like behaviorists, you know, dogs on medications.
Yeah, and we
all
don't
these
want to
trainers
do
and
that, yeah.
stuff, and it's like, yeah. So,
Yeah. But yeah, so we're invested in putting in the work. We will do everything we can to make your job easier, and like whatever you tell us to do, we'll do it.
Your system, your e-collar system, is it a circle remote?
I have it
have
here.
it?
Yeah. I brought everything. She knows her ball's in here too. Good girl, stay here. Yikes. It's this one and
Yeah, it looks like the e-collar technologies.
Easy Educator.
Yeah, we toss the remote over here, please. Yeah, this is one of the newer models. So, I don't use Educator.
Okay.
Reason being is when I first started training dogs 15 years ago, I think it's because I had a pit, I got like a bunch of pitties with behavioral issues. And I had 3 in particular that were all human aggressive that were on this particular, not this model because this is a newer model, but brand. And they were all getting worse with the training. And then I, out of my own pocket, bought 3 remotes, so it was like $1,000. And just because they had bought their collars for me, and I felt bad like having them buy another $300-something collar, so I replaced them myself. And then once I switched the brand, all of a sudden they all started making progress. My theory is the way the stimulation is delivered is different. This tends to be a sharper stimulation, whereas with the brand that I use, which is the Artra, it's a duller sensation.
Okay.
The other thing is, and they're going through some changes here, but their system has 127 settings, whereas I think this one caps at 100. It doesn't mean 27 more necessarily, like higher. It means more variation, so it's a lot more subtle. Okay. If you want to use this, I'm okay with using it, but if we don't see progress or anything, I'm going to look at the collar.
Okay.
Okay. Because I've been doing doctor for 15 years, so I know it like the back of my hand. I had a trainer here, his name is Jeff Gelman. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's pretty well known, but he had a seminar here, and they used this particular model, right?
Okay.
So they were asking for a loaner collar, so I was like, sure, and I gave them one of mine, and they're like, oh, you use Doctra? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't do e-collar technologies, you know, because we're so used to using the tools that we're using. So that would be the only thing. Is
Okay.
I do suggest you get a Doctra,
Okay.
and Tina will tell you the make and model.
Okay.
If you decide to move forward with this, again, I'm okay with it. I think the only other thing that I think about this, because I'm not familiar with the Easy, is I believe this is a low power output collar. So what that means is I'm pretty sure this is meant for a 35-pound dog and under.
Oh.
Okay. So they have, in their old system, there was Mini Educator, Educator, and then the Boss. Okay. So Mini Educator was low power, Educator was medium power, the Boss was high power. So if you had like a 120-pound dog, you wanted the Boss. Okay. So I come across a lot of dogs that were with the previous trainer. It could be a 90-pound pit, and they're on the Mini Educator. And I'm like, well, that's part of the problem. I was like, because that is meant for a small dog. Okay, so that's the other factor here.
Okay.
Is I'm pretty sure that this is meant for a 35-pound dog and under. The reason why I raise that as a point is if we're pressing her, defensiveness or aggression, right? And she triggers. If we don't have enough output, the dog will override the collar and they won't stop the behavior, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
No, we've definitely had instances where, and she just didn't pay attention.
She
It
didn't
was like nothing.
I
Even
mean,
with our
no.
trainer, even with the
I would
trainer,
say,
there
like-
were times when he said, I was giving it to her hard and she wasn't listening.
Okay.
So
Well, I think I think we've had to like definitely bump it up, but I think at some point she generally reacts to it. But I mean, totally open to if the tool is not working.
she
we're open to-
reacts to it definitely when it's like general stuff, but when she's in that zone,
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
she didn't even know you're there.
That's when it really factors in, because like, so to give an example, and you can see her video on my YouTube channel. This is a very rare case. It's a pity. She was actually having aggression towards me. She's actually a regular here.
Okay.
She's never liked me even from the beginning. She'd always growl at me. I never handled her. Like, I just existed. She didn't like me. But then, and she was great with staff, but then one day I actually had to handle her because my staff had called in sick, and like she was not letting me handle her. And I was like, all right, so then I brought it up to the owner. He did one-on-one training with me. We made a lot of progress. I could handle her. And then like 6 months later, hated me again, but with a
weird.
vengeance.
Weird.
So then he actually recently just did a 1 week board and train, asking that I try to figure out this problem. And when she was in the kennel, her aggression towards me was so bad that I actually had to do 2 high-powered collars to get her to stop.
Oh,
Jeez.
wow.
Because I was max power on one, and she was still just coming at me.
Oh,
She
geez.
wasn't stopping. So then I did the second collar, and I had to go out of 127 to 80 on 2 collars, and then she finally cut the crap. So if you watch her video, you'll see in the beginning where she does not, like I'm touching her, and she's just like this. She's not having it. And then I explain everything, and then you see me do a dual collar correction, and then afterwards you see where she comes up to me,
Oh,
and she's
wagging.
just wiggling her butt and stuff, because I finally cut through
Yeah.
the tension that she had. If we don't get the dog to turn off the behavior, they stay stuck,
Yeah.
and so that's where output matters the most.
Okay.
Okay, and which is the next thing is it's very, very rare that this happens, but that's why earlier I said I can only take as far as you're willing to go. So with this particular dog, if I wasn't willing to do 2 corrections, I would have stopped behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I already had max power on a high powered collar.
Yeah.
She was not stopping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's going to happen here, but that's why I tell people I can only take as far as you're willing to go. Because it happens. In my career, 15 years, she's probably the 8th dog who's needed a second collar to
Wow.
finally stop the behavior.
That's still like quite a number 8. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Most dogs that I've had to do that with were 150-pound dogs.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense because you got the size of the
Yeah.
dog, right? Plus they were all human aggressive, so then we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Plus when they become aggressive, like a kind of adrenaline, right? So if you've ever been in a fight and you get punched, like you don't feel it,
Yeah.
and afterwards you feel it, right? It's the same thing for the dog.
Yeah.
Once they go into that state, they're not really feeling the pressure, which is why you need enough to be able to cut through everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tina would send the make and model that I recommend.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
the
you
only
get it
reason we
yours.
have that one is that's the one they
Yeah,
gave
yeah.
us.
This is like one of the most popular
Yeah.
systems.
Okay.
For a number of reasons. It is a good system. I just didn't have a good experience with them many years ago, and then once I switched to dog tracks, like never looked back. Okay.
As far as her noted and fair enough. As far as her like prong collar too, like this is the one that we've had since she was
Well, 6 months, huh? 7 months.
9 months maybe. I think that's when we went there. So, but is that like okay with the? Because like I know like some dogs have these like she seems to be fine with this. It's like the smaller links. I don't know if like she's 65 pounds, if we're supposed to move up to like a bigger link at some point, or if
You
that's
could. I mean, prong, you can use remote collar. Prong actually pairs really well with remote collar. A lot of my clients, when they come on prong, will just switch to straight remote collar and a flat collar because it does everything. you
Yeah.
know. This is like, it's kind of like, for example, I had a client, she was like maybe 100 pounds and she had a 150-pound Great Dane who was dog reactive, and she lived in Bucktown, so she could just turn the corner and there'd be a dog.
Right.
So she did both prong and e-collar because the prong gave her the physical leverage that she needed to control such a large dog, whereas the e-collar did the work to shut down the behavior, if that makes sense.
yeah.
No, yeah, we did both for
Yeah,
a while.
we did both with her, and I mean honestly, like I said, we can walk her pretty much on like we just have like a slip lead, totally fine. Or like I know, especially trainers are not fond of harnesses because it makes her pull, but like she doesn't pull, so like she can be on a harness and be like fine, and like or the slip collar. We use this collar I think when we know we're in situations where it's like she's gonna be meeting a new person or something
Need
where
more
it's like
leverage. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. So yeah, once you switch to remote or whatever, it's really just personal preference.
okay,
You know, it would be your baseline tool, and then everything else is just like, do we want a prong or do we want her slip lead or whatever? But technically, they both work really well together.
okay.
Okay.
And then I guess like as far as I mean, we're down with 9, we're down with 12, I would suppose, but how, like, hours and things, like I work 9 to 5. Sorry, I keep hitting this. 9 to 5.
So you would send Tina your schedule,
Okay.
right? Both of your schedules, like the times that you're both available, and then she cross-references with my calendar.
Okay.
And then, like, so for example, I have a client right now that last time I saw her was like a month ago, because she's a nurse.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
she's like an ER nurse, so she has like a rotating schedule, and she's had to cancel like 2 times because like something, her schedule just changes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to see her tomorrow. We'll see if that happens.
I mean, I can be pretty consistent, but I don't know if you do like early evening or like weekends
Depends
or
on the
whatever.
day, yeah.
Okay.
So she would just look at your schedule, look at my schedule, and then present you with times.
Okay.
And then you select which one works well for you.
Okay.
And typically it's every week for an hour at that same recurring time.
Okay.
Unless you have to reschedule or something, you know, which we have a 48-hour. As long as you schedule outside of 48 hours, we're good. You know, we either push or we go to a different day or what have you. If you cancel within 48 hours, we give everybody a freebie cancellation because
Okay.
it happens.
Yeah,
But then after that, it does count as a class because, especially now, I'm at the park. So if a client cancels, I'm just stuck at the park for an
Yeah.
hour.
I was gonna ask, is it here, or
Yeah.
so it's at the park,
So I
Oz
train at Oz
Park.
Park, correct.
Oz Park.
So I'm
one-
only at Oz Park on the weekends.
Okay.
I'm here during the weekdays because I do our transports. Like I pick up dogs and drop off dogs.
Got it.
So I have to make sure that I'm here.
We're really close to here, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Where we train doesn't matter
Okay.
in terms of obedience or whatever, because I teach in a way that you can take it and then apply it in your day to day. People like training at the park because they just get the experience
Of
of the
being, like,
distraction
out.
and
Yeah.
being out there. Correct. Yeah. But there might be some classes that I'd recommend we do here. For example, like the pressure exercises, the socialization stuff. Last thing we want is to be having a dog act out, and then we're at the park and everybody's like, "What are you doing to that dog?" Okay.
Yeah.
So in
For
those
sure.
cases, we most likely, you know, relocate. But otherwise, any obedience stuff can be done at the park. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter where we work on the training.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, so we just come for an hour. Like, do you do, I know you guys do boarding and stuff here, and that was the other thing that I liked. I was like, you guys do treadmill work, and there's like all
Oh, yeah.
kinds of like stuff. I appreciate that because I don't like the idea. We only really take her to daycare since I work from home. Like, she could be at home. We take her to daycare so she has like
Yeah,
an
just get
opportunity to
around.
be around. Yeah. Other dogs, but I like that you guys do like a play group here and there's like treadmills and it's not like, here, just put her in the kennel for 8 hours. Like, if that's the case, we're not going to drop her off.
Sure. Sure.
But that being said, like, do you guys do any like, I don't know, if you're in training with you, do you have like discounts with boarding or like, or is it?
So any dog that we've trained is welcome to use our boarding services.
Okay.
They're not required to do daycare.
Okay.
Dogs who have not trained with us are required to do daycare once a week.
Okay.
Okay. We don't do discounts simply because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To
Totally understand.
keep the structure, whatever. But we don't charge for a lot of things. Like we don't charge for treadmill. A lot of places charge for treadmill.
Yeah.
And it's like $50 for 30 minutes, whereas
Yeah.
all the dogs do an hour.
Yeah.
At least once a day. Our antisocials might do 2 because they're not social, so they won't be in group. Whereas if she's social, she'd be in group. So we do hourly rotations. We do playtime if they're social, or otherwise it's ISO time. Duration work, which is on the bed there. Treadmill time, and then an hour of decompression time, and then it does it all over again.
Okay. Yeah,
Don't
I
do
mean,
that.
really, I totally respect like whatever. I was just like, well, if we're taking her for a day, like, would it make sense to like combine that with like a daycare?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, we do like daycare train programs and boarding train programs, but they're different in how they're done because it's like you drop your dog off, we're training them throughout the day. But if you're doing in person, then you don't need a daycare
Okay.
train or a boarding train,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess that's more
Yeah.
what I was asking. Yeah.
Now, if you'd like her to have daycare, but a more structured daycare, she's more than welcome to utilize our services. We
Okay.
reinforce everything here. We reinforce the training and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of times clients will know like, oh, I left my dog, and then when I got them back, they were kind of loopy. You know, I'm like, yeah, because it's like a vacation. you
Yeah.
know? I was like, but once they do the training, like everything comes back.
Yeah, when I pick her up from, well, either of us, when we pick her up from daycare, she comes out like a Tasmanian devil. She's
Yeah,
like, she's like so hyper, so energetic, so just
Yeah.
takes a
Yeah.
while for her to.
Decompress.
Yeah.
Or come back down. Because usually most places, it's just you're in a room all day with other dogs, and it's just
Yeah.
nonstop, which is also not good for overstimulation.
Probably.
Whereas here we don't do that. You know, we do smaller groups of 8 to 12 dogs. We pair dogs that pair well with each other. So like, let's say she's a gladiator style. We have another dog that plays gladiator style. then we would pair them together because we know that they're going to do well with each other.
Yeah.
ADHD is a good way to explain.
Good way
That's
to
a good
explain
way
it, yeah.
to, yeah.
And we don't let dogs get over 5. So that's what, spats happen when you have, 50 dogs, 60 dogs every day, right? But they're very rare because everything's so controlled that things don't ever kind of get over the top,
That's cool.
Dogs that we train can board with us whenever they'd like without having to do regular daycare. Otherwise, she's welcome to do that stuff too. I have clients like in St. Charles, Winnetka, Skokie,
Really?
Hoffman Estate,
come all the way from there.
Lombard, border of Indiana, border of
geez.
Wisconsin. I don't expect them to come once a week for daycare, but because I've trained them, they're more than happy to come here to bring their dogs to board and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And like I said, I was like really happy that you guys do pack walks and that you like exercise the
We
dogs.
just started bringing them back again. We used to do
Yeah.
them every day during 2020 because we only had at the time like maybe 12 to 16 dogs a day.
Yeah.
And to get out and get some air or whatever. And I just started recently doing them again, but they're not planned. It's kind of like I have time to do it, and I take the dogs and I select them randomly. My wife's been wanting to bring it back, but it's just I have so much responsibilities on my plate.
I was gonna say, no, I
hard.
don't blame you. Yeah, you have a lot to do, and but I appreciate that. I appreciate like how everything, like watched a lot of your videos and stuff, and like
I
your
think a
approach.
disciplined daycare could probably be good for her.
Yeah, it could be that. I
Because
mean,
it is what it is, what you said. She's in an area with just dogs all day, which is great, but it's just constant stimulation.
Yeah,
I
and
guess.
it's sounding like maybe that's not the best for her. I mean, she has fun, but it's maybe at her detriment,
Yeah, I mean, because you have like all the things that you're doing with her, and then you have going to daycare, and it's like nonstop.
Yeah,
When
it's
it's
like a-
regulated, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Like, and you know how she started to settle down more and more. It's because you've been telling her to relax.
Yeah.
So when I told you like pull the leash up and do this and that is when she started shifting. Because earlier she was like whining in there, but nothing told her not to that she couldn't do the things she wanted to do.
Yeah.
Once she started to become more strict, then she started to settle down a bit more.
Yeah.
So anything else?
No, I think it's like exciting. I mean, like looking forward to getting her, more social and just in a better spot.
So the minimum would be 9.
Okay.
If you want to do 12, the other thing would be if you did 12, it is cheaper per class the longer the program. Is like, let's say you did 12 and then we used 10 and you're like, hey, like I'm really happy with everything. Like I don't think we need the last 2. We could always convert them to credit and you can put them towards daycare, you could put them towards boarding.
Yeah.
That's also another option. Is like you do it just in case. And then if it's like, oh, we got a whole ton of stuff done and we have classes left over, like you can convert to credit, no big deal.
Okay.
Put it towards boarding, daycare.
Yeah, I'd be curious for the behavior stuff. Because, I mean, we know she's really good with retaining and understanding obedience, but behavior, I'm curious to see how. I mean, I have complete faith in her on that, but I just haven't seen it, so I'm be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
No, as long as you're, again, pushing and being consistent and stuff, like you're going to make progress.
Yeah.
So.
I'm invested. Yeah. We're invested. So cool.
All right. Well, if you need anything else, let us know.
Okay.
You can place your mics on that
Oh, sure.
dresser there. And then you can either